Well, eventually everything is ready to fire up again. We drop the tyre pressures and I hop in the car, hop in the combi, and everyone's standing in a circle around the van looking somewhat apprehensive as we're about to try out this new idea of dropping the tyre pressures. I start the motor, I keep the revs low as they recommended, and slowly let out the clutch. And I was just astounded. We just drove out of that sand like it was tar seal. It was amazing. Those wheels bit so well and just pushed us, propelled us forward. I was amazed. I was absolutely flabbergasted. I drove up next to the truck without even missing a beat. In fact, I was so stoked at this new turn of events that I began to drive all over the place like a test run, and purposely found a sand dune, a little sand dune, and drove onto it to see if I could negotiate it, and it was just a breeze. I went up and over that sand dune with the greatest of ease, and oh man, everyone was a cloud nine. It just relieved so much tension, and it was a huge weight off my back as well. Driving along there over these sand hills and without missing a beat. Oh, this is fantastic, man. But with a positive, there's always a negative, isn't there? And we were rejoicing now, but tomorrow, well, we will be lamenting, unfortunately. Well, as we finally got up and running again, confidence, of course, was running at a real high level once again. And negotiating any sand drift that we found ourselves in was just a breeze, really. In fact, it became fun. We were enjoying it. It was kind of like four-wheel driving in a two-wheel drive vehicle, if you like. I was really astounded at the significant difference that lowering the tyre pressure made. In fact, it was really quite enjoyable. Well, to our surprise, the hours of sand dunes that we had been anticipating, just after about 2 hours, the surface changed once again. Tuned back to that stony, flat surface that we had previously encountered, and of course the occasional sand drift and small sand dune, but this terrain significantly changed again just within 2 hours. It was amazing. There were small sand dunes, like I say, but by and large the surface was getting flatter and flatter and flatter. And as the evening began to approach, we decided, let's have an early break today. After such a harrowing time throughout the day, let's make a nice evening of it and get to know one another a little bit better. Of course, the 8-ton army truck was also performing as well as we were, and there's the combi, with reduced tyre pressure like us, although they only dropped theirs to about 20 pounds PSI, I think, because their tyres were much larger than ours. But they also had an enjoyable afternoon driving through those sand dunes as well because of the reduced tyre pressure. So everyone was pretty happy, everyone was pretty pleased. We're all pleased with ourselves, and we decided, well, let's just have a nice special dinner tonight after our success today. The one real benefit, if you could call it a benefit, was that the Siafu army truck, the 8-ton army truck, was also the supply truck for that expedition company. And they have lots of supplies and no expedition. Lots of supplies and no expedition. And so we could choose whatever we wanted from their massive food supply. So that was pretty cool. Until we kind of rummaged through all the food supplies to find that everything was in dried food packets. Just add water. Oh my goodness, dried vegetables, dried potatoes, dried soup, dried this, dried that. Do you know how sick of dried food we got before we reached Cape Town? Oh, sheesh, yuck. Just add water, oh yuck. Well, I can't complain, at least it was free. And with the shortage of money that we would soon find ourselves in, dried food was going to be a bit of a blessing in disguise, believe me. Well, after an awesome night together, I mean, we'd done well that day. We'd travelled a lot of distance that day, and we were pretty happy with ourselves. And just sitting around, enjoying ourselves, enjoying one another's company, and realising that we're now heading towards the more central part of the Sahara Desert. Life is good. We're telling stories and looking at the amazing night sky, and we're just realising how blessed and how lucky we were to have this amazing experience. And of course, eventually we all finally crashed, and after another unexpected turn in our awesome adventure throughout the day, and all agreed that life was just absolutely magnificent. We were having such fun now. This adventure was turning out to be everything and more than we had expected or were hoping for, and life was good, man. We were having fun, we were enjoying it.
I feel it coming closer day by day. Life would be ecstasy, you and me endlessly. On a Sunday afternoon.
Waking in the morning to another magnificent day. Every day was magnificent on the Sahara. We decided to get away early and get some serious mileage in before the day got too hot. And as the terrain was dead flat once again, and there was very little hint of a track other than the pile of stones that we were following, we decided to drive parallel to one another, about 100 metres apart, sideways, not behind one another, but parallel, sideways. 100 metres apart. We could see that the terrain was magnificent. We're driving on just dead flat right to the horizon. Small, pebbly, sandy type hard surface where we figured the road was about 100 kilometres wide because you could drive wherever you wanted to. So it was just fantastic, man. We thought this is awesome. We're really going to enjoy this. The small sand traps that we found ourselves constantly ploughing through yesterday seemed to have all but disappeared by now. So I figured that perhaps we should just blow the tyres up again. Why not? I had 3 pumps, 2 hand pumps, and 1 tyre pump that was operated through the spark plug on the motor. What you do is you take the spark plug out and you screw the tyre pump or tyre hose into the spark plug where the spark plug used to sit, and as the piston comes up, instead of the spark plug being there, it's the tyre hose, and as it comes up with a push of air, it pumps the air out through the hose. And of course I then took the other end and proceeded to connect it to the rear tyre. I took the connection of the hose and proceeded to connect it to the valve on the tyre. So one end is on the motor, the other end is on the tyre. And as I was connecting the hose to the valve on the tyre, I just happened to look at the tyre. Oh, my heart sunk. Oh my goodness. I slowly got up and then started to walk around the car and look at the other 3 tyres. Oh no. I just stood there looking at these tyres and my heart sunk. Oh no. All the 4 tyres had a big split right around them where they had been running on 12 pounds pressure, 12 pounds PSI, and running throughout the day flat out with those tyres spinning in 40-45 degree heat, and the tyres getting hot, they just split, man. Oh my goodness. All day long we were running on 12 pounds pressure PSI. I was just devastated. What a pounding these tyres had taken for the last 2 weeks. I couldn't believe it. And up till this point I had probably repaired about 4 punctures up to this stage, and it seemed like now tyres were going to become my worst nightmare as I looked at all these splits in these tyres, and I thought, oh no, man, these tyres are going to cause me real problems. I guess the one saving grace in relation to the period that we were living in the early 1970s was that tubeless tyres had not yet become commonplace, and most everyone was still using inner tube in a tyre, which I had mentioned earlier on, that they suggested we take 6 extra inner tubes because you put them inside the tyre, and that can be your saving grace sometimes. However, after pumping the tyres back up to 35 psi, the splits became less visible, and I just hoped that the canvas walls on the tyres were still intact. The canvas wall is on the inside, you have the rubber on the outside and the canvas wall on the inside. As long as the canvas wall's alright, then you can get away with it. Fortunately, that seemed to be the case. So that was great. And but unfortunately, further down the track, no more than 1 month away, I would find myself fixing a puncture nearly every day for the rest of the trip. For about 3 months, every day I'd be fixing punctures. Oh my goodness. And on several occasions, those tyres put us in extreme jeopardy, believe me. Oh well, anyway. Well, that was the scare, but which we finally sorted out and got underway. And the heavenly drive that I was dreaming about, driving parallel with one another, driving anywhere across this terrain. There was no road, we created our own road. It was everything I expected it to be. Oh, fantastic, man, this is awesome. We were having such fun. Also putting on a few miles as well, I might add, as we were driving around the 60 km/h mark for quite considerable time. It was fantastic. However, there was one thing that we had forgotten about as we merrily zoomed along that fantastic flat desert terrain. One thing that could also so easily bring disaster to us. And in fact, our colleagues in the 8-ton truck were shortly about to hit it head on, literally. We were driving about half a kilometre apart at that time, sideways, not behind one another, sideways, half a kilometre apart, having a little bit of a race if you like, when suddenly a massive volume of dust suddenly appeared where the truck had been driving. And as we looked over, all we could see was just dust. The truck had disappeared. What the hell was that, I thought. Then suddenly I remembered what the Automobile Association had told us. Beware of hidden dust bowls. If you drive into them at speed, you could render your vehicle incapable of further progress. Not to mention personal safety. That's what they said. There's no question they had just ploughed into one of these dust bowls. Oh my goodness. We just did a massive U-turn and drove directly towards that huge cloud of dust. And as we got a bit closer to that cloud of dust, we could see the truck motionless and completely covered in dust. Oh my goodness.